Imagine a man whose very existence was a symphony of freedom trapped in an invisible cage. A man who, with a single bold gesture, would tear away the veil of a dictatorship, writing the history not only of dance but of human dignity. Today we will take you back in time to June 16, 1961 at Le Bourget Airport in Paris. It is not a simple travelogue, but the story of a moment that changed the destiny of a genius and vibrated like a cannon shot in the heart of the Cold War. We will reveal to you the palpable tension, the menacing shadows of the KGB, and a dancer's desperate leap against oppression. Get ready to relive the moment when art, in its purest and most rebellious form, defeated tyranny. The calendar read June 16, 1961. The air at Le Bourget Airport, just outside Paris, was not only filled with the smell of fuel and promises of departures. It was thick, almost palpable, with an electric tension, a suffocating expectation that few could perceive. Amid the crowd of indifferent travelers and the calls of the announcements, a man stood on the edge of an abyss, faced with a decision that would redefine not only his life, but the very perception of freedom in the entertainment world. This man was Rudolf Nureyev, a young dancer whose passion for art burned with an unstoppable flame, and whose soul yearned for something greater than any choreography. He stood at a crossroads, a point of no return, where his art, his life, and his deepest desire would collide with the icy grip of a totalitarian regime. Rudolf Nureyev, a name destined to resonate for centuries, synonymous with talent, charisma, and indomitable rebellion. For him, dance was not just a job, but his raison d'etre, his voice, his deepest breath. Every move, every leap, every pirouette was a hymn to beauty and expression, but her existence wasn't all applause and limelight. Nureyev had dared to challenge the icy iron hand of the KGB, the fearsome security arm of the Soviet Union. His greatest desire, almost an obsession, was freedom, a dream that few dared even contemplate under that regime. He was a rising star of Russian ballet, already acclaimed, but his rise had been abruptly halted. He was now detained in Paris, held captive by Soviet officials who had no intention of letting him go. Around Nureyev, the atmosphere was charged with presences that left no room for doubt. He was surrounded by Soviet officials, men with stern looks and impassive faces, almost sculpted from ice. Their sole purpose was clear as day, to make sure Nureyev got on that damn plane and returned to Moscow immediately. Nureyev felt the heaviness of that dictatorship, the oppressive grip of the Soviet regime that sought to suffocate not only his art, but his very soul. He knew that a return home would mean a stifled career, a life of compromise and control. Her freedom, already so precarious, would become an illusion, an unattainable mirage if she gave in. She couldn't allow that. The air at the airport was electric, charged with secrets and a silent but pervasive fear. Among the unsuspecting passengers, KGB agents moved discreetly but with a tangible threat. They were like wolves stalking their prey, their every step measured, their every gaze penetrating. Their threats were subtle, not spoken aloud, but imprinted in every whisper, in every glance they cast at Nureyev. It was an implicit invitation to surrender, a demand to conform, to return to the fold, but Nureyev would not surrender. His determination was unwavering, forged in the fire of his passion and his indomitable spirit. She was a rebel by nature, and her inner flame, fueled by the desire to dance in freedom, burned brighter than ever. She would not allow her spirit to be tamed. And then came the dramatic moment, near the one that would seal his fate, as he was being escorted towards the door of the plane. His decision became immovable, clear as a cloudless sky. There was no longer any room for doubt. What he was about to do was not just an act of courage, but an epic gesture destined to go down in history. With a lightning-fast movement, a sudden leap that the KGB agents could never have predicted, he freed himself from the grip of his tormentors. He was like a bird breaking its chains. Running with the speed of one who has everything to lose and everything to gain, he lunged toward the French police officers who loomed like a lifeline. And then, with a voice that resounded in the chaos, which was both a cry and a prayer, he shouted, "All political asylum." Those two words were not just a request, they were a declaration of war, an act of rupture, shattering the chains of slavery and oppression. It was his battle cry, his hymn to freedom, which echoed forever within the walls of that airport. Nureyev's was not just an escape, but a profound declaration of war against oppression. It was the most vivid demonstration of how art, in its purest essence, can triumph over dictatorship. His dance, his passion, his entire existence were the expression of the human spirit, of its unparalleled capacity to rise above all constraints. His leap at Le Bourget became a symbol, a beacon of freedom that illuminated minds and hearts. Her story resonated beyond borders, inspiring millions to dream of a world without chains, where self-expression was not a crime. Dance, thanks to Nureyev, took on a new meaning. It was not just art, but an act of resistance, a hymn of hope that continues to resonate today. His life, his courage remind us that true art never bends, never gives up, but launches itself bold and impetuous towards freedom. This is the power of one man, one artist, who refused to be silenced, proving that even in the darkest moment, the spark of freedom can blaze into an inextinguishable fire.